Hello, everyone. Good afternoon. Happy Monday. I'm so glad that you're joining Rachel and I here on this Q&A Monday, where we're going to talk to you about self-publishing and answer all the questions that you have. We will be very strict with time today, so I can stay married and I can go help my husband do stuff. So I have an alarm set for 6:30 p.m. Central Standard Time. When that alarm goes off, we'll probably take one more quick question and then we will call it a day. So if you are new here, my name is Courtney. I write under the pen names Lyra Parrish. I was also half of the USA Today best-selling duo Kennedy Fox. And this is Rachel Brookes, and I will let her give an introduction to herself.
Well, on the spot. No, I'm Rachel Brookes. I'm an Australian USA Today bestselling author. I've been around for almost 10 years. So, yeah, that's me.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I forgot about that. Yeah. Me and Rachel have been around for about the same amount of time. I think you published in 2013, though, right?
Yeah. July 2013. Yeah.
Hello. Hi. Yes. Thank you, SD. So yeah, ask away. I mean, it's never too early to start firing out those questions.
Tuesday morning, 8:05. Let's see if my brain's working. In the future.
DWL.
DWL. I love that.
You have to know. You have to know.
It's very weird not getting ready to sprint.
I know it is, right? It's like, hey, we're not sprinting. We're just chatting. That's all we're doing today.
Exactly. Just a couple of gals with a few friends. I like it.
Is there a checklist anywhere for someone new to self-publishing?
I don't think there's a checklist, but there's definitely groups on Facebook that like Incas would be good.
Yeah.
There are, I think, would be, and just asking questions. I think there's a lot more material available now than what there was when we started. And we were just floundering around for trying to get information where we can, even not trying and just doing.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think those resources would be good.
Yeah, I haven't seen a checklist anywhere. I've discussed making like a quick and simple checklist, but the thing is like it just kind of depends on what your goals are with publishing when it comes to checklists, because some people, this is like their hobby. This isn't like something that they want to make into a career. And so depending on, what your goals are, that will be dependent on what you would do. I mean, the basics of like getting your book written and edited and proofread and covers and uploads and all of that is pretty much the same. But then it also just it's dependent on, are you going to be on all platforms? Are you going to be on Kindle Unlimited? Are you just going to sell directly on your site? Like, you have to figure out what your goals are first.
Definitely.
If a new author wants to use a pen name, do they have to create a different Amazon account, or are they okay with using the one they already have? You can use your same KDP account. You can have several pen names underneath that account. That was easy, Carolyn. I'm still half of Kennedy Fox. I'm no longer co-writing under that pen name anymore as of January. So yeah. Someone's publishing their first book. How much do you personally feel they should put into marketing? Rachel.
A lot of time. I just think it's about getting your name in front of people's eyes, basically. And it doesn't have to cost money. Like, there's so many ways that you can do free marketing. Just by the social media platforms that there is. Courtney's taking a call. I think, Facebook, TikTok now, Instagram, I think it's just about getting your name in front of people's eyes, getting the name of your book, the characters, So just as soon as you've got something to market, whether it's a one-line teaser or a Pinterest album, I think it's I don't think there's never such a thing as marketing too early. So when we started, and I think we've said this before, that Twitter was huge when we first started. So Twitter was kind of the platform that we used. But yeah, I think just getting your name, your book, your characters in front of people as soon as you can, I think is the best way to go.
Yeah. I would also add on to that when you are marketing your first book, it's really hard to see like the profit margin in that, like when you're talking about like making money, because I know that, you push and push and push that debut novel and you may not see like a financial gain on that until you have a backlist. So for a debut, like when I released my debut, I think I spent $2,000, which I have a video about this that's super old, but it's on the channel somewhere. I think I spent $2,000 or $1,500, and I made that money back the first month. And I think that was because most of my efforts, most of the funding that I used was spent on marketing. And I also gave my book to anyone who wanted it. I didn't
Mm-hmm.
care. You're just a reader. Now we have influencers. That wasn't a thing back in the day, but anyone who wanted an advanced review copy, you got a copy. It didn't matter. I think I gave out like 500, 600 copies. And, it's all about just name recognition. So, yeah.
100%, 100%. And I think the important thing as well for your debut is don't try not to go into it with too many expectations,
Yes.
because you don't want to set yourself up for not meeting your expectations for your debut and then maybe making you not want to continue, because your debut is just that. It's your first, it's your arrival. So but yeah, try not to have too many expectations, but just enjoy it, because you're doing something that a lot of people won't do in their lives. So you just got to enjoy that ride.
Yeah, and be happy to make the mistakes, because once you make them once, like, you'll know, okay, I'm not doing that for the next book. And I've
Mm-hmm.
also found that it was super helpful to write down everything that I did for marketing, just so you can go back and cross-reference it, because sometimes like you book so much stuff, you're like, well, what did I actually do at the end of the day? Like if you
Yeah.
keep a list of that, then you can go back and be like, oh, well, for the next book, I know that these 5 things worked and these 6 things didn't. So I'm going to cut those off my list and try something else. Jasmine says, do you have any tips for marketing with a pen name and not wanting to show your face for romance? Yes, TikTok, page flips, scene videos. Like TikTok is huge and you do not have to show your face to have a viral video over there that will sell tons of books. I didn't show my face for the first, I don't know, 6 months of writing romance, just because of my job and all of that. And I don't think it's necessary. I think that when you don't show your face though, it's even more important to be more authentic online, because people will assume that you are, one of those ghostwriter farms. Just to
Mm-hmm.
be honest, they'll be like, oh, this is a ghostwriting farm. They never show their face, because that's what the ghostwriting farms do. They create hundreds of pen names in romance, never show their face, and all of their posts are super generic, so you can just tell. Do you have
Yeah.
anything to add, ma'am?
No, because I pretty much showed my face straight away.
Like, here I
It was just one of those things. I didn't know not to do that. And not that not to do that, but obviously I used half a pen name. So my real name is Rachel. My surname isn't legally Brooks. But yeah, but you did, when Kennedy Fox started, no one knew who Kennedy Fox was.
Oh, that's true. Yeah, that is very true. Nobody knew who we were, but then like these bloggers got in this group and was like, this is who they are. And so we had to out ourselves because people already knew.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's totally doable. It's totally doable.
And there's authors today that people don't know their faces. So
And
yeah.
then they show up at signings and people are like, whoa, that's the person behind that dark romance name.
Yeah.
Never would have guessed how sweet and innocent they are.
I love it.
Shannon says, you may have answered this before, somewhere before. Do you guys have a working contract for your writing and publishing partnership? You should always have a contract for anything that you're doing with anyone else when it comes to co-writing, when it comes to editors, cover designers, like anyone that you're working with. I would say get a contract, even if it seems so stupid to get it done. I know recently there was this big thing with like Amazon proven like rights with like image use for like exclusive images. And so a bunch of photographers had to give contracts to people who they hadn't given to them before or whatever, just so Amazon didn't remove books. So I think it's a good practice to have. Did you guys out so hold on, wait. If you're marketing when you got bigger, wait, did you guys wait to market when you got bigger or did you wait until you were ready? Am I reading this incorrectly?
Did you guys wait until you were ready?
Um,
I don't.
I'm going to say when it comes to marketing, you don't wait until you're bigger because the goalpost always moves. You know, like to you, X author may be a bigger author, but to them, they're still at the bottom of their own food chain, you know? So I would say market as soon as you have your idea. Start talking about it online. Like it's never too early to start talking about the book you're writing or going to publish.
100%. And I think every day we're marketing just by, posting on Instagram, posting on TikTok, commenting on Facebook. Every time you're posting as your author name, you're marketing in some sense. So, and I think that is important to remember as well, that when you're posting or responding to things, people are seeing as well. So even if you don't think you're marketing, people are still seeing what you're posting and people are seeing what you're writing. And but yeah, I wouldn't wait. I would do it as soon as you get an idea, or as soon as you think you want to publish, start doing it,
Yeah.
because people love that. People love seeing people chasing their dreams and writing and, tease.
Yep,
All about.
and you can set up a Goodreads account. Like if you have your website, you can set up a Goodreads account, a Goodreads author account. You can start, you can put your book up there where you have a link for people to add it to their TBR. You can do giveaways on Goodreads. I know that I think it's $119 or $149. It used to be free, but now there's a charge for that because it's a pay to play system for everywhere. But yeah, like you can start now. I think I started marketing my first book in August of 2013 and it didn't release until January. So
Yeah. I think I started, similar to you, like January 2013, and I didn't release until July 2013.
yeah. And at that point, like you're 6 months into it, like you've made friends, like you know what readers want, like it gives you just kind of like a foundation to kind of like launch your book.
And it gives you that time to, make bloggers and, influencers time to, even though you don't have the book, you're still selling it to get people to read it. And you need those bloggers and the influencers and the early readers. So never too early. Never too early.
Yeah. Maria says, can you use an ISBN without putting your real name or company name if you don't have one? I want to go wide, but I do not want to make an LLC or similar at this time. So when you purchase ISBNs, you have to have a company name or put the name that you're publishing on under there. And then when you use those ISBNs, like on Amazon, it will show on your paperbacks and your hardcovers. When you set up those accounts, like on Apple to go wide, if you do not have a company there, it will show your real name. If you don't have an LLC, you can get a doing business as and use that, which they will show on Apple. But if you want to avoid that completely, then I would say to use a distributor like Draft to Digital, because when they release it to all the sites, it's going to say Draft to Digital LLC there. It won't say like your private information. So that's an easy way to get around that. They will take a percentage of the money that you earn, but you only have to upload one place instead of 5. To me, it's worth it to upload because 15%, if you're making $100,000, is what, 15,000. But just starting off, you don't have to go straight wide. It's easier if you do. It'll save you a lot of headache of moving things from Draft to Digital to all the platforms, but that is a workaround for that.
Yep.
Learning all the things. Once you have published all of the books you planned on writing, how do you decide what to write next? And how do you come up with new ideas after you've used up all your ideas?
I think it's whatever's making you excited, I think, is because once you commit, well, not that you have to stay committed to that one idea, but I think it's so important to enjoy what you're going to write and enjoy the world you're going to create. And I think it's, like that is what I do when I decide like I'm going to be wrapping up a series this year. And I already have an idea of what I'm going to write next, but something else might pop into my head before that. Like, let's be real. It happens. I've got squirrels up there.
No, what you plan to write next is going to be the one.
Well, we'll see. We'll see. But in terms of coming up with new ideas, I think it's just being around things that inspire you. So, whether it's something that you see, something that you like listen to, what you watch, like inspiration comes from so many things. And, it could be when you're writing the current book that you're writing and a secondary character starts talking loudly, then it's like, okay, well, there's what I'm writing next. So, I think the ideas never stop. And I've got, well, hopefully they never stop. But I've got like a note in my phone where I just jot down everything so I don't forget. But that's what I do. As long as it excites me, and because you're going to be spending a lot of time with these characters, you don't want to be writing something that is hard work, basically. It has to be as easy as you can make it, basically.
Yeah. Yeah, inspiration comes from all different places. Like, I can be listening to NPR and hear someone talk about this story and be like, oh my God, that would make an amazing book. But if you are having an issue coming up with ideas, like you've exhausted everything, you've taken hikes, you've gone on vacations, you've read other books, you've watched all the movies, you've done all the things, I would say to go on Amazon and see what's ranking top 100. I would almost, like, if I didn't have an idea that just super excited me and I didn't know what to write next, I would use the list of what's selling right now to be like, is there anything on here any trope on here that I would like to write? Because apparently those are doing well and it's not a shame to want to make money. So yeah, that's an alternative. But like Rachel, I have a list on my phone too where I'll just be thinking about something and I'm like, oh, that's a good idea. Some of it's weird.
Oh yeah. I like have things in there and I'm like, I have no idea what I was thinking or what what had come to me. And, and it can be a whole idea can come from a title or, one line. So never be afraid to jot something down that might not make sense to others, but make sense to you, because it can open up to so much. So
for sure. Deidre, what advice would you give someone about to relaunch a pen name after not releasing a book for years, after you've probably been forgotten?
Well, that's me. No, I'm not relaunching a pen name. I'm just coming back after a break. I think it's just, I'm like, and this is me being real. I had quite a successful publishing career before some stuff happened in my real life that took my attention, and I had to step away for a little bit. So I'm going to be coming back. Not that I've left, but I will be publishing again for the first time in 3 years, I think it is. I've had little things like anthologies and things like that along the way since then. But and I've said this to Courtney before, I am going into this with zero expectations. I'm not going into it thinking that I'm going to be making the money that I was when I last released. Not at all. And I think the important thing is to keep posting, keep your name and your face and in front of people when you're, not releasing, because I don't think anyone will ever be forgotten. I don't think, I think it's just important to keep posting and keep marketing, keep your name and face in people's minds. But I'm not relaunching a pen name. I'm just coming back as me. Not that I've, but I think just keep going with little expectations or don't don't expect what you previously had if you're coming back. And that excites me. Like, I'm excited to start releasing again. And like, the expectations aren't there for me. So I think that's definitely exciting, scary, but more exciting. So, but you'll never be forgotten. You'll never be forgotten.
I would say to use it as a way to reinvent yourself.
Oh yeah,
because you've had time. If you said years, how many years, Deidre? Actually, I probably won't see your comment because I know that I'm being slow. But if it's been years, you have the opportunity to reinvent yourself. And any of those books that you've got under that pen name, I don't know how many books you've published under it. You can rebrand them, relaunch them, get fresh eyes on it, do a whole relaunch campaign for that pen name. If you've got a backlist, get a promotional company to help you do that. Once your relaunch of backlist books are out there, then start releasing new content immediately afterward, because those backlist books with the changing of covers and blurbs or whatever it is, it'll give you time to be in front of people and then give them new stuff to read. I haven't released under my pen name in 7 years. It's been 7 years. And while I've posted, I don't have any books up under my name. I mean, now I do, but it's one. And it's difficult. It's very hard to not have a backlist. It's probably one of the hardest things for me because I don't have anything to really bring anyone to other than my Kennedy Fox books. Which is okay. I still promote those and stuff. But use it as a reinvention period. Like, get your branding down. Like, this is the opportunity to really work on your branding. If your branding was shit before, redo it and make it at the level that you want to be at, not the level that you're at. So that would be my advice.
And I think just one last thing, I think the exciting thing about relaunching is that it's all on your time. So if you like there's no rush to relaunch. If you
Right.
haven't released in a while, there's no rush to relaunch. So that's what I'm doing. I'm spending my time making sure that when I do relaunch, I have everything ready.
Yep.
Everything ready. So, because, and I've said this to Courtney before, that I want my relaunch to be as like not stressful at all, because I want it to be fun. I want it to be like when I first published, where
Like
it was excitement.
that
It was like,
debut excitement.
yeah. And I think, but the best thing about it is that I'm coming into it with all this knowledge and experience. So, yeah, it's all on your time. It's all on your time. And I think that's the beauty of relaunching, because you can, as Courtney said, you can have everything ready to go. You're not going to be rushing for a link, or, you know, when someone says, do you have this? And like, oh, no, I don't. It's like, yeah, well, I do. Here it is, kind of thing. So I think there's a lot of beauty in relaunching. There is a lot of beauty and excitement about relaunching. So, yeah, I'm excited. You're excited.
Yeah.
It's going to be great.
And it's a part of the origin story. Like, come on, think about this. Think about being like, oh, yeah, I dropped that pen name for a few years. I'm putting myself in Deidre's shoes. And then I rebranded and I came back a bigger B than I was before, making all this money. Like, that's a success story just in the making, waiting to happen.
Comeback era, comeback era.
Right. The business end of having a pen name, is it difficult to prove who you are when you're going to events and things? No. Do you have to have separate social media accounts, or could you promote both from one? It depends on how close your pen names are together. I'm assuming you have more than two, or are you talking about your real name and your pen name? I would say for pseudonyms, I would have social media accounts for your pseudonym and then for your real life, because you don't really want that to be mixed together.
Yeah, I and this is what I say to my family. I've got my real life Facebook and social media, and I've got my alter ego. And you know, and a lot of my family follow my alter ego, you know. But and it's a different surname. But yeah, like because there's things in my real life that I don't post, you know, author life, and I don't really post author life on my real life. So, and it's just like having a business email address and having a real life email address, basically. To me, that is.
I mean, and sometimes it does feel a little weird, because like you are yourself under your pen name. Like, I'm not pretending to be Lyra Parrish. Like that person is who I am in real life. But the thing is like, you know, underneath my real life profile, like I talk about real life things a lot. Like when my dad was sick, I would post about my dad. When my dad's funeral was happening, I'd post that. I'm not posting that stuff really on my profile. Like there's things that just you may eventually want the separation from your real life and your pen name. And I think it's good to have that space.
Yeah, exactly.
Do y'all know how many people have messaged me asking why that book is in KU? Lily's books were in KU, and dark romance does really well in KU, and so we threw it in there. But I feel like it was a mistake to put it in Kindle Unlimited, because y'all know me, I'm kind of a KU hater. But I wanted to be proved wrong. I'm like, you know what? I haven't been in KU since 2018. I want Amazon to prove me wrong. I want to be able to make a video on YouTube and be like, you know what, guys? I was so wrong. Kindle Unlimited is awesome. You should all enroll and write dark romance and do all the things. I don't have that video to give to you guys, unfortunately. Right now it's still in Kindle Unlimited. Will it stay there forever? I don't know. I feel like we would have done better if we went on all platforms, but just because Lily's audience is in KU and it was a dark romance and they do well, that's why we went KU, but I don't have a KU audience. What are words?
What are words? What are words?
How How often do you use the same editors before you worry about them getting too used to your writing voice and not catching everything?
Um, I use the same editor. I've got two that I go back and forth. But that's the beauty of proofreaders as well. Mixing up with proofreaders are a good thing as well, because they'll be able to pick up the things that the editors might miss. So I think definitely, use a couple of proofreaders if because I think the relationship between author and editor is so important, because and it's good that if they know your voice, because they won't suggest changing it, I guess, because if that's your voice, they know it, and they know that you might have little quirks in how you write or describe something. So I think, in terms of not catching everything, that's what proofreaders are brilliant at having. And you don't have to have just one. You can have two, you can have three. You can have one proofreader and give them the specific task of saying, can you look out for grammar? And one could be spelling, or one can be whatever. So, yeah, I it's not really a worry for me, I don't think, because I think it's so important to have that really good relationship with your editor. And I've had not great relationships in the past. So once you get that good one, if it's working, you hold on to them. Yeah, you hold on to them.
Yeah. I like using the same editor because I know how they work and I know what to expect. Back in the day, I used to have two editors, both named Jennifer. And I would switch them. I would let one edit and I would let one proof. And then the next book, I would let the other one edit and I would let the other one proof. And I would switch them off like every other book just to make sure that everything was being caught properly. But yeah, I don't really have an issue. If I publish a book that has been edited twice and proofread and I get reviews that says the editing is bad, I'm going to go directly to the editor and be like, hey, I'm getting reviews saying that my editing is bad, so we need to talk about this. But that's why you don't become besties with people that you hire. So then you can keep your relationship professional and you can talk about business when you need to talk about business.
Mm-hmm. Fact.
How do you find a good editor? I know there are places to find them, but how do you know they are good? Okay, so what I like to do, I've been called a Slytherin for this. Find a good editor. I feel like Alessandra Torre's Anchors group is a great place to post about editors. Like, you need an editor who can do a developmental, a content, blah, blah, blah. You'll get 100 comments from different editors, people recommending their editors. I like to put known errors into my docs that I put in there on purpose, and they're very simple errors. And if the editor that I'm testing, because they'll usually do a sample edit, if they don't catch my simple errors, I do not hire them, because I'm putting the most basic of basic errors in there. Call me a Slytherin. I'm okay with it, but I've not hired people because they've missed things, like an I before an E when it really needed to be an E before an I, or different things like that. But yeah, development starts blush. Edits.
And I think as well that, you can, it is important to do that test sample, but also if you've read a book and it's just like the cleanest editing that you've seen, look who the author uses as an editor. Like, it's okay to do that. Like, you can, if you've read, a series of an author and you've seen not one or very few editing issues, everyone lists their editor in their books, and reach out to them, find out what their rates are, their availability, and they might be taking new clients, they might not, but yeah, you can definitely do that. So don't be afraid of contacting someone that, it's the same as cover designers or photographers. If you've seen a cover and you're just like, oh my gosh, that is stunning, like, don't copy the cover, but you can reach out to the photographer or the cover designer.
And
That's
usually you can go on Amazon and download the sample, and if they're using legitimate people, they'll typically put it on their copyright page.
yeah.
I know that my cover designer requires to be put into the copyright page in the contract that I signed. So sometimes they won't put their editor because they're not using one. Sometimes they won't put their cover designer because they're going on Fiverr and they don't want people to use their person. Sometimes they won't put a photographer or list that they're using stock because they either don't have to or they don't want you stealing their people. I mean, but typically you'll find the information in the copyright page.
Yeah.
Follow up. Does the person have to worry about their real name showing on their books at all for the pen name? Yes, you do have to worry about that. If you're using ISBNs on Amazon for your paperbacks and your hardcovers, and you're not using the free one that they give you, it will show your company name or whatever name you've registered underneath your ISBN on there. And when you go on the wide sites like Apple, if you don't have an LLC there, or if you do not have a DBA, it will show the real name of the person that's published it. So you just got to be careful with that. You're welcome. Brooke says, do you think contacting influencers, book bloggers, book scrimmers, book talkers is an outdated technique, or does it still have good ROI? I personally don't think it's outdated.
No, I don't either.
I think that it can really help you with your marketing efforts. And if you message people correctly, or you're not being a douchebag and you're like being super nice, and like you've actually interacted with these people and you have some sort of relationship and you've like commented on their stuff or whatever, I think that the response is great. And just be aware that when you send things to influencers and book talkers, bookstagrammers, whatever, not 100% of the people are going to post. You're going to have you'll have like 60% of the people actually follow through, and the other ones are not going to do anything. So just remember that and don't get upset. I think it's a good practice. I've started contacting people for my upcoming release. So
yeah.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah.
Let's see. Publishing translated works. How do you know if your book is going to do well in the market if you don't speak the language? I think it's important to really find good translators before you hire them, and not just hire the first person that applies to your job for the price that you want to pay. There are translation companies that will do like pro bono stuff where you can be like, hey, I've got these 5 people who want to translate my book for me, have them do a sample, and then hire someone who is proficient in that language, who has experience in your genre, to tell you which one of those are the best. Because I don't speak German, Italian, or French, but I have people who are really good, and that's because I hired professionals to tell me who's really good. Once you publish, if you start getting a bunch of reviews that are like, the translation is terrible, this sucks, blah, 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 you might need to find another translator and then find someone who is an editor to edit that translation. And so with my foreign translations, I work with 2 people. I work with a translator, and then I work with an editor. And so I'm not just taking the translated copy and uploading that to Amazon. I'm taking that translated copy and then I'm sending the English version and the translation to an actual editor who speaks both languages to edit that book properly. So then I feel confident that I'm uploading something that's going to be good. And then after that, if it still sucks, then I'm going to have a bone to pick with some people. But I've had no issues, and that's been my process for the last, I don't know, 3 or 4 years. 3 years, I guess. Yeah. You're welcome. Yes, it is. Hold on. I'm going to go through these kind of quick so we can jump down to the bottom. Any courses you recommend for a new author who wants to self-publish to learn how-tos and multiple steps of self-publishing? Can you think of one, Rachel? I don't know if there's actually a course that goes through every little thing. I would maybe check, I feel like maybe Alessandra had something.
She does a lot of short courses, like I wouldn't even really call them courses. They're just,
maybe like boot camps.
Yeah, yep. And she always does little, like sessions, like hour sessions where she'll teach or she'll share things, hour here and there. So I would definitely check out the Incas and even just search Alessandra Torre. Torre, is that how you say her name?
Yeah, Torre Anchors Group. If anybody's gonna have something for you like that, it's gonna be her. Like
100%.
she starts at like the most basic level. And she has a lot of information out there.
Yeah.
Yeah, they will find out eventually anyway. Hi, hello.
Yeah, I just did a quick search of her website, and there's an interested in writing tab, and there's, what causes a book cover to be banned, price your ebook for success.
Perfect.
Yeah, so definitely jump onto, and it's alessandratorre.com/writing, and there's 20 maybe guides there, step-by-step instructions to copyright.
Yeah, she's great. She puts a lot of information out there for free too. Like you don't have to pay for it. And she does the Inkers Con conference, which I spoke at last year, and they're having signups right now, I think for $100 off if you get the digital. So I think it was like $199. It wasn't super expensive. But yeah, if you like her style and stuff, like there's a lot of good information.
Mm-hmm.
Do I need a DBA for my pen name? Usually the LLC will cover it. I'm not giving business and legal advice. Let me start with that. Usually the LLC will cover it, but you can do a DBA for your pen name registered to your LLC in the state of Texas. I do know that, but I don't think you really need both. I would talk to a business consultant in your area because I don't know which state you're in. Take you to become a bestseller. What kind of bestseller?
Mm-hmm.
It's always so subjective.
It really is. And what one
like
person,
Amazon,
yeah,
like a bestseller as far as like making 5 figures a month, 6 figures a year. Like there's so many different things that this could mean. As far as USA Today, that was book 9 for me. And it was under Kennedy Fox, and it was not expected at all.
Killing it.
3 books. When is it time to start considering foreign editions for my books? I currently have 3 books published with 2 coming out this year. As soon as you can afford it. That's what I would say. As soon as you can spend the money to get them translated, I say get them translated, because you build your audience in the foreign markets the same way that you build them in the English markets, by releasing and having a backlist. It's the same. It's just a different language. Did you outsource your marketing? Okay, that was the question earlier. So some of it you can outsource, like cover reveals, release blitzes, stuff like that. Sells, like with BookBub and things like that. I think it's good to outsource it, but it's also good to keep it and some of it in-house too.
Mm-hmm. Definitely.
When do we get, so you need a new, you know what, Kayla, I'm going to write that down in my book just for you. Let's go to the next question. Here you go, Rachel.
If you were just in the drafting stage of your first book, which social media channel would you recommend starting marketing with? What would you start? I would probably start with, Instagram, because technically you have stories as well as, what's it called? Your actual, what's it called? You got the stories part of it, and then you can just post. The reels, yeah. So so yeah, and it's so easy. You can do you can post and they stay there as well. So and you can just, you can make it all color coordinated with your release. You can tease colors, fonts, that kind of thing. I would probably start building Instagram. TikTok's always buzzing as well. I would probably Facebook would probably be the third, I guess. But yeah, and with Instagram, you can start pushing your newsletter. You can start pushing your other socials. You can start pushing links and things like that. So it's never too early. If you're still drafting, start teasing,
Go look at our Instagrams and scroll to the very bottom of me and Rachel's Instagram. It's low-key embarrassing. And you'll see the stuff that we posted on our Instagram before we published.
And that was before we knew to use Instagram as a marketing tool. So, the teasers. But yeah, and it can be as simple as one line, 5 words, like, just, and tag and things like that. But I would say, probably Instagram would be.
I feel like it's really easy to connect with bookstagrammers, like the influencer side of it on Instagram. It's easier than it is on TikTok. I would say TikTok though is really going to sell books. If you don't have something for someone to purchase immediately, you can gain buzz, and there have been people who have gotten movie deals and publishing deals and everything else because they've gotten buzz on their book as they were writing it on TikTok. Like, you can go really far if you are not afraid to show your face and put yourself out there. But if you are, then TikTok might not be for you at this stage. But I think you should at least create your socials on every platform, regardless if you're going to use them or not, just to save your pen name.
Yeah, 100%.
Oh man, so many questions. Within this subgenre of romantic suspense, do you feel that the indie books are different than traditional plot characters, book covers, reader expectations? I do feel like they're different because self-published authors are okay with skirting the line. With traditional publishing, sometimes they'll be like, nope, we don't like that. We're not going to do that. And indies are like, we're going to go there, and we're going to go really far and go there. As far as reader expectations, I feel like readers don't really know if you're indie or traditionally published if you have the right packaging. Like, they're not scrolling down there to see who published the book. They just want to see that the book has a good cover that draws their eye. The blurb is great. You have a nice sample. Like, you've got the full package. I don't think they're looking at like, oh, is this traditionally published? If it is, I'm not reading that. Most readers are not like that. They're not looking at it in the same way that we look at it.
Yeah.
What do you believe is a fair number of books per year to write when first starting? I'm a historical mystery writer, and I'm wondering how patient readers are. I think I'll only be able to write a book per year.
If you can only write a book a year, that's fine. That's fine. It's better to write one book a year that's quality than to rush and write 3 books that aren't of the quality that you expect. So I think that's fine. And, and I feel like there's this stress that authors put on themselves that they have to rapid release, and it works for some people.
That's me.
100%. But if you could do one book a year, do one book a year. If you can do one book every 2 years, do one book every 2 years. But just be aware that if you end the book on a cliffhanger, you will get people that will message you every month or every week and be like, when's the next book? When's the next book? And you will. That's just the beauty of cliffhangers. And that's what you want. You want people to crave the next book if you do a cliffhanger. So just be aware of that. But, I think one book a year is great. A lot of work goes into writing a book and releasing a book. And I think, more of us have to realize that just how much work does go into writing and releasing and planning to release. So yeah. And it's not only able to write a book in a year. You can release. That's what you can do. So
Yeah.
yeah.
I always tell indies, they're like, oh, well, so and so told me I have to release 6 books this year. And I'm like, you set the expectation to your readers. And
Mm-hmm.
if your readers know that every July Angela is going to release a new book in her series, then every July Angela's readers are going to be like, oh, it's time for that book to be released.
Yeah.
If you are going to wait a year, which is not a biggie, I would say to have your pre-order for the next book up when you publish the one prior to it. So then your readers are absolutely 100% aware that, hey, I got this book in May and the next one's going to come out next May because the pre-order is already there and waiting for me. And then leave people there with your back matter. Like, hey, thank you so much. Did you enjoy this book? The next one's coming this date. Here's the links to pre-order. And so then you're capturing them as you're releasing.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Okay. Do you ever get restless whenever it's time to sit down and write? If so, how do you overcome it? Yes, I do live streams where y'all force me to sit here and write with you.
If I'm in the right headspace to write, I'm restless. But if I am, I'll just do some admin for a little bit. I'll do, I don't know, and I think there's so much other stuff that we have to do other than writing as well. I know writing's what allows us to have to do the other stuff, but yeah, if I'm restless, I'll just do something else for a short amount of time until I get back to wanting to write, or I'll tell Courtney, let's go live, and we'll go live.
Exactly.
But there's so many other things that I can do when I'm restless. Newsletters, content, all that fun stuff. Even to the point of I'll scroll through stock sites and look for photos for teasers. As long as I'm in that headspace of book world, I know that the need to write will come. So that's kind of what I do. And then something will click and I'm like, and it could be that I see a photo that inspires something, or I will be looking for, lines for teasers. And then that's just like, oh, I can't wait to continue to write that. And then next minute, I want to write. So, yeah.
I also find, if I'm super restless, I will ride my Peloton. I'll go exercise. I'll go take a walk if I'm able to. Sometimes I'll just go sit in the bathtub for 45 minutes and watch mindless YouTube videos the whole time, telling myself, hey, when you get out of this tub, you're writing. And I'll set small attainable goals. So it's okay, I have to write today. I've got to get back into this book. I just need to write 100 words today. And as long as I get that 100 words written, I'm good to go.
Yep.
And then typically once you start, it's kind of like exercise. It's like, oh, once you start, okay, well, I can write another 50 words. Okay, I'll write that 50. Maybe I can do another sentence. I'll write a sentence. I keep it short, small goals.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm not like, hey, I got to sit down and write 10K today if I'm restless. That's not happening.
That's just setting yourself up for not reaching that goal.
Exactly. How do you know when you have too many characters in your story? When they all start sounding exactly the same. When you can't differentiate which character's talking because they all have the same personality.
Yeah. Or if the heroine or hero is not in a chapter.
Oh, God.
But that can happen. Like if you've got so many secondary characters, and next minute you've got a chapter, and it's like, well, the hero didn't even.
They didn't even show up.
Yeah, it's like, oh, well, you know what? Whose story is it really? Is it the heroine and her best friend, or is it the, So
I've read some thrillers that had so many point of views. I didn't even know who was who. I didn't know how they even mattered to the story.
yeah,
The Guest List, that was the book. I hated it. My ADHD couldn't keep up with everyone. I'm like, who is this? How do you manage the after work exhaustion where you think about writing all day, want to write so bad, but by the time you come home, you're burned out? Ooh, this is a good one.
I think it's those small goals again. And I think it's knowing that you're not going to be able to, okay, let me rephrase that. Some people can, but majority won't be able to get home from work and sit down and, have like 3,000, 5,000 words, because you've got other things. You've got to eat, you've got to relax, you might have family, you might have socializing, and I think that will just set you up for burnout. So, and if you're thinking about it all day, just have a notepad with you or open up a document and just jot things down as they come in your head. Like 100% it works.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's always when you can't allocate the time is when ideas will come. Like for me, it happens all the time. Like I'll be out somewhere and I can't be, I might be at dinner or something and something will pop into my head. I'm like, why is it happening now when I can't, whip out my laptop or something like that? So I think it's just, if you want to write so bad, and just know that one day the time will come when you can do that. But just jot down ideas, jot down one line if you need to. But I think just don't put too much pressure on yourself to come home and then step into the second part of your job,
Yeah.
because you don't want to burn out by putting too much pressure on yourself to have to, if it's 500 words a day, it's 500 words more than you had in the morning or the night. So I think, and then just, the weekends are there if you have time to do it on the weekends, but just, I think it's getting out of that mentality that you have as much time as someone who doesn't have a day job,
Yeah.
or a job. I think it's making sure that you don't compare yourself to someone who doesn't have that other job. Because if you're seeing someone that's writing every day, releasing a book every 2 months or whatever, you can't compare yourself to them because you don't have as much time as them to put into writing at this specific time. So I think it's just that comparison. You've just got to be careful with that.
Yep. And Rachel, you can also, like, there were authors that I knew that were also working corporate at the same time as me, and they would get up an hour earlier and try to get words in before their creativity was completely depleted from the day job. So sometimes it's like, well, I could spend that hour at night when I'm just so exhausted and my brain's fried from looking at spreadsheets all day, or I could go to bed an hour earlier and just wake up earlier and get my writing done in the morning. I used to use my lunch breaks. I would have 30 minutes for lunch. I had a little bitty laptop. I would take that laptop out to my car, put it on my lap, and I'd write as fast as I could for 30 minutes.
Yep.
And I would get like 1,700 words. And I'm like, who is this person? And I think it's because the time constraint was there, that it was like, okay, well, I know that I've got to be back at work in 30 minutes. So I have to go back in because I scanned out. And so just using those little pockets of time when you're feeling that inspiration is really helpful. And for me, like when I work corporate, I have a whole video on this. I think it's like an hour long, but I talked about all of this, but I would do admin and I would write very little during the week. Like my goal was to write a chapter or maybe 2 chapters Monday through Thursday. And then I would use Saturday and Sunday as like my big writing days. And I would schedule the weekends out and use them to my advantage. All of my vacations were used to write.
Yeah.
All of them. And I did it for years. So you're not alone. There are so many people who are writing and working full time. And, you know, those who
100%.
don't have to do that, who are not grateful that they don't have to do that, have no idea. Because it's hard. I did it for a decade. It's hard. Hello, sunshine. I don't know who this is. Wait, I'm scrolling down. I'm sorry. How do you balance marketing your first novel with writing and a day job? I'm just going to say that this is basically the same thing as writing. You just use those pockets of time that you have, and make a list, make a to-do list, make a list and accomplish things when you can. And don't rush yourself. Give yourself enough time.
And make templates.
Yes.
You can just put in, make a teaser template, make a newsletter template, so you can just enter in information and go. It's set up already. So
yes, I plan on going wide in the fall with my standalones, testing the water, so to speak. Any advice? I don't know who this is, but I would say when it goes to going wide with standalones, those are a hard sell. I'm just going to be completely honest. You need to be able to hook people. If they're not in the same world, you're going to have to really work on your back matter to get people to go to the next book that you want them to go to. And when you do launch wide, I would try to launch it with some sort of like BookBub on one of those books, or do a bunch of newsletters to like newsletter advertisements like BookBub if you can't get one, and just really push. Also, if your covers are outdated, I would think about rebranding those covers. If they're full standalones, it's going to be hard because people on wide sites like to have series. They like to read through just like they do in KU. So, no expectations. Don't go out there with high expectations if they're standalones, but make sure your back matter is chef's kiss. Can you brand as an author from the beginning as someone who writes all types of romance, ranging from contemporary to dark, or is it better to have multiple pen names still? Oof. This one, I feel you, Jasmine. This is me. I just want to write all the things. I think it's better to be established in one thing before you start branching off into a million other things. Then your readers know what to expect from you, and then they're more willing to give you chances on a different genre. It's hard. I can tell you right now, my audience is contemporary or small town romance, or contemporary romance. And they don't really, some of them want dark, but there's not really a crossover. So I'm going to be breaking out my pen name from Lyra Parish to do all my small town ooey gooey Hallmark type books. And then all of the dark romantic suspense books will be under L Parish. I'll still run the same socials, but I am going to break them up because I realized that trying to do all the things is not helping me move forward. And it makes it very, very difficult to find a core audience if you're just giving them everything. Are there any books or resources you suggest to read on self-publishing? Alexandra Torres Inkers Group. If you look down below in this description on YouTube, I've got a list of books that I think are valuable for self-published authors. They should be there. What advice do you have for debuts?
Just what advice? I would say try not to have, don't put too much pressure on yourself. Enjoy it, write what you want to write, and just have fun with it. And I think just try not to put too many expectations on yourself, and just enjoy it, because not a lot of people say that they're writing a book. So remember that, enjoy it.
Yes, you only get to release your debut one time. Like
Exactly.
it's the most magical thing. And like when you've published lots of books like me and Rachel, you're gonna look back and be like, man, the days of the debut, like that was so special. Like there was no expectations. It was just
Yeah.
you could be yourself, and it's very special.
And you always remember your first. Always
That's
remember
what she said.
it.
When rebranding, if I change the titles, what do I put in the metadata so folks who read the original title know it was previously published as? Yes, I do know what you mean. I would just put something at the bottom that says this book was previously titled blah blah blah. If the content's changed, tell them that the content has changed. If it's still exactly the same, tell them it's exactly the same. If the content changes, people who bought the original may want the new one. If it hasn't, then they know, hey, I need to just skip this one.
Mm-hmm.
What if you don't have a pen name? Can you have one profile for both? Yes, you can, but I would be very careful because real life people and literary people, like, I personally don't want the two mixed.
Yeah. I'm the same. If I was releasing under my real name, I would still have separate because, there's things that real life people don't want to know and book world people don't want to know. So
Exactly. About the separate social media accounts, my plan was to write under my name for my fantasy and super spicy under a pen name. I already have a separate book account. So asking, should I run two book? What does that mean? Social medias?
yeah.
Are your two pen names similar? Is your book social media a general social media account, or is it for that specific pen name? If it's two separate pen names, I would probably run two social medias, but that's a lot of work.
Yeah.
I would almost try to make it kind of like I'm doing, where it's like Lyra Parish and Elle Parish, so then you can just run it under this umbrella.
Mm-hmm.
When will you start running Facebook ads for the Lyra Parish book you're launching June 13th? I've already started running ads to that book. I'm testing them right now. So by the time I get to about 2 weeks before release, I'll know which images, which copy, which targets will work for me, and then I'll just put more money into those. So I don't think it's a bad thing to test. As soon as I had my Amazon link, I started testing.
Mm-hmm.
Looking back to when you guys wrote your first book, what steps do you feel were the most successful in gaining an audience and publicizing it?
Just being on social media, talking to readers, talking to authors, talking to bloggers back then. And it was not just being approachable, basically, and not pretending that I knew what I was doing, because I didn't. I had no idea what I was doing. And I think, like, I had zero idea what I was doing. But yeah, it's just being approachable and being a nice person and just not putting too much pressure on myself. But yeah, I just made sure I was seen, basically.
Yeah.
I was back then, it was Twitter. So I was on Twitter, I was sharing people's things, I was commenting, I was sharing posts and things like that. So it really is, it's just about getting your name in front of people,
Mm-hmm.
and it's just making sure that, yeah, it's positive and it's not being overly too serious about, because back then I had no idea what I was doing. Not that I claim that I know what I'm doing now, but it was fun. Like, it was fun. I made sure I had fun with it. I made sure people knew when they saw me, when they saw my name, when they saw anything to do with my author life, my creativity, that they knew it was going to be fun and approachable. And yeah, so that's pretty much how I did it back then, and how I still do it now. Like, I still want to be that approachable person. So I don't want people to ever feel like they can't approach me at all.
Slide into those DMs.
You know it. They're always open.
I think for me, what helped me gain an audience was I never stopped talking about it. I shared the stupidest teasers. I shared it all. I probably shared too much. And people loved it because I was like, oh, look at this teaser I made. And it had like 4 paragraphs on it. Like, I went all out, and I did start my newsletter beforehand, and I captured people from the beginning. And anyone, I'm like, does anyone want to read this book? If you'll read it and leave a review, it's yours. Give me your address. I didn't care. I was not entitled. I'm still not entitled. Anybody wants to read my book, you can have a copy of it, because there are millions and millions and millions of readers we're not tapping into. And you may feel like, oh, I'm just giving this book away to everyone. In your little small community, maybe, but there's so many romance readers or whatever genre it is out there. Millions. So,
and I think if you give away, I don't know, 100 free copies, 500 free copies, word of mouth is your biggest marketing tool.
Yep.
Word of mouth will, I cannot stress that enough. Like, word of mouth is huge, and all you need is one person out of that 500 to share it, and for that to go viral, or, you know, that's what we didn't say back then, but, and then you've changed that, you know, one free book into thousands of sales. So
yeah, and don't be afraid to shoot your shot. Like, don't be afraid. Like, if you're very kind to someone and you're like, hi, I really loved your Instagram. You read this author in this book, and I'm a new author and my book is releasing, and I think you might be interested in it. Like, if you're not, I totally understand, but I would love to, you know, send you a paperback copy of it with no expectations. I feel like it's meant for you. You know, people really gravitate towards that. I've had readers that have been with me since 2013. Still in my group, still commenting, still like, oh my God, I remember your debut novel. Like, if you're nice and kind to people and you're authentic, like
100%.
We'll go to the top. For writing collaboration, how many is too many writers? Ooh, I feel like I could only write with one other person at a time, just because I know like what goes into it when it comes to editing and getting a final book. I think that if you're working with 3 people, that's what is it? 2's company, 3's a crowd. I wouldn't deal with more than one person with a writing project. I did not at all. I focused on my writing career 100% because you only have so many balls you can juggle. And if you're juggling balls to be a ghostwriter for this person and they become successful, then like, how does that really help you? I didn't do any writing gigs like that. To supplement my income, I was hourly at my job at that point, and we would have like overtime, and so I would pick up overtime. I would also, all the money that went into my books, I put back into them. So once I published my first book, any money that made went right into the marketing for book 2. Okay, sorry. Oh gosh. How detailed do you guys outline, and do you finish your outline before starting to write in your series? Do you outline your entire series or one book at a time?
This is you, Courtney.
Rachel's a fanster. So my outline for the book that I'm currently writing is about 6,500 words. Some chapters have a lot of scenes, and it's pretty detailed with like exact things that I want them to say during that scene. And there's other chapters that say date scene something fun. Figure it out. This is a problem for future Courtney to figure out. So it's really just whatever you make out of it. Some people just use bullet points for each chapter of different things that they want to hit during that chapter. So it's whatever. Some of our outlines as Kennedy Fox were like 14,000 words long. Some of them were like 3,500 words long. It just kind of depends on the book, the genre, the subgenre. Okay, sorry. Let's see this. What is your process for reaching out to bookstagrammers, book talkers, bloggers? I feel so uncomfortable reaching out about arcs. Um, I feel like it's best to reach out to people that you follow or follow you. Like, look
Mhm.
on your Instagram, Terrellyn. I'm sure there are bloggers that follow you, and start there. Start with people that you already have a relationship with, who are already following you and what you're doing. Um, and that's where I would start. I would go into your followers and I would look and I'd be like, oh, is this person a book blogger? Yes. Hey there, I saw that you followed me and I saw that you're a book blogger and I have this upcoming book. Here's the tropes. Give them the tropes because that's what readers want. It's a small town contemporary romance. It's enemies to lovers, best friend's older brother, and I think that you would really enjoy it. Is it possible for me to send you an arc? Oh, you would like one? Great. Here's a form. Can you please fill out this form for me? And as soon as I get my advanced review copies, you're going to be the first one to get one.
Yeah.
It's really that simple.
Yeah, and it's providing them with as much information as you can without giving it away. So, tell them that it's a standalone, it's 80,000 words, release day, whatever. And honestly, just being nice works wonders. Telling them that you understand that I'm sure they get hundreds of people messaging them, say to them, if you can't do this one, is it okay if I contact you again for my next release, or give them the link for your ARC sign up form or whatever. It's really, and, like they expect to be contacted. So they know that they'll be contacted. So it's just being nice and approachable and approaching them with respect because you want respect in return. So yeah, like I've messaged and emailed people my whole career and I'll continue to reach out to people. You don't get to a certain point when you do it every release because you want to
and if they
expand.
say no, they say no. No hard feelings.
Yeah. Respond back. Not a problem at all.
Thank you so much. Appreciate your time. Shoot your shot. Shoot your shot, and you will reach the stars, I promise.
Yeah, because my thing that I say to myself if I'm ever thinking, oh, I better not do that, I'm like, what's the worst that could happen? They'll say no.
Yeah.
And the best that could happen, they read my book and it blows up. Like there is no negative, about contacting someone, reaching out to someone.
Yeah. And if it's people that you don't know, that you don't have a relationship with, and maybe you follow them, I'm not saying to go and just mass like their posts, but maybe like look at their feed and maybe like their post of something that really like inspires you or intrigues you or a book that you've read that they've read and leave a comment, and people see that. They get notifications every time you comment on Instagram. And if you don't know them, I would check their bio, and typically these bookstagrammers, they'll have links up there and click it, and sometimes it'll say for ARC request or review request or whatever, click here. And so they want you to email them. They don't want you to message them. So just be aware of that. I just messaged someone. I emailed someone like 2 days ago and was like, hey, I know you know me, we follow each other. I'm really nervous to email you. I'm just going to be completely honest. Here I am shooting my shot. I have a book releasing. I would love to send you a paperback. Like, would you like one? Here's the tropes. Here's the blurb. It releases this date. If not, I completely understand. I appreciate your time and I love what you're doing on Instagram. And that was literally the email. And they emailed me back with like capital, oh my God, I can't believe you're contacting me. And I'm like, I emailed her back. I was like, you made my whole day emailing me back, because I never think that I'm too good. Like, anybody tell me they want to read my book, I'm like, thank you. You're getting a copy.
100%.
Like Oprah over here. You get a copy.
Oprah.
Facebook TOS states you can only have one account. How can you work around for pin names? Does it have to be connected to your main account as a business account? They say that, but We still have 2 accounts. I mean, I've had my account since 2013. I've had to prove my identity, and I have an assumed name form from the state of Texas that gives me the ability to act as Lyra Parrish. So if Facebook comes after me, I give them my certified letter with my driver's license, and they don't do anything. They verified me on Facebook. So yeah, I think that it's okay. They know that you have 2 accounts because my husband got blocked on one of his accounts and signed into the other one, and that one was blocked too. So just be aware that if you think you're going to get around some sort of blocking thing by having different accounts, it's not going to work. How do you take your books to the next level? I'm making a pretty okay amount, but want to continue to grow. I hear a lot about translations. Did you find that it made a huge difference? I think translations are great and it can bring you to the next level. I have a friend who was making 6 figures and she went and got all of her books translated into French, German, and Italian, and now she's making 7 figures without being a USA Today bestselling author, without being an Amazon bestselling author. She has no bestseller tags and makes a lot of money. Translations is a great thing. I encourage people to self-publish their translations. Audiobooks as well. If you don't have audio, like they're pretty profitable. They're kind of expensive to do, but audio and all the translations, making sure your branding is very clear, and just being consistent, whatever that means for you, whether it's 3 books per year, 4 books per year, whatever it is, like being consistent with your releases. Okay. The stamina. I don't care what other people are doing. Write the story that's in your heart.
Mm-hmm.
You know, if they're writing 1,000-word books, good for them. Your girl could never. Maybe Rachel could.
I write long books. I write long big books, and Courtney's going to teach me how to condense them. Yeah, everyone's books are individual, and that's the beauty of it. So if someone wants to write a 400-page, if someone can tell a story in 150 pages, if they tell a story in 400 pages, 1,000 pages, that's what they have chosen to do. So I really don't have any thoughts about that. Really, I think it's just so individualized. And I think, I would love to write shorter books, and I'm going to work at doing that just because I want to be able to do that. But if I can't, I'm a 400 pager. Like, that's just what I am. So, and I've read incredible books that are 150 pages. I've read incredible books that are 400 pages.
700 pages.
Like, I've read not so great books that are 400 pages. Like, it's all subjective, really.
When I see books, I'm going to be real. When I see books that are 1,000 pages and they're in Kindle Unlimited, I'm like, that book is padded with so much stuff that's just going to make me mad because it's not going to be straight to the point, and I'm probably not going to like it. Because a lot of these people will pad these books and explain every detail, and I can't handle it as a reader.
See, everyone's reading experience is different.
Do you have words of wisdom on series title conventions? Don't box yourself in. You know what I mean? Like, sometimes it gets really hard to keep it the same when you're going for a longer series. And the titles don't even make sense at some point.
True.
Okay. Sorry. Do you need a clinch cover and a discrete cover? I don't think so. I think with TikTok, people have started doing the discrete covers just because they sell, but I don't think it's necessary. At least not even to start, not to start off with.
Nope.
For doing two pen names for different kinds of books, does same first name, different last name get too confusing for readers? I don't think so. I mean, you're going to brand them completely different. And usually, if you're doing that and you're branching off between two different pen names, like you're probably not going to have super large crossover, you know, because you're trying to target two different audiences. So I don't think that it matters that much.
Mm. Yep.
How do you get your self-published books into both indie and corporate bookstores? Be on Ingram Spark and use the distribution where they can do returns. That's basically the only way. And go viral on TikTok. You'll be everywhere.
Yeah.
Question for Rachel. Two of my characters are from a country other than my own. What advice do you have for authors who want to share their work with their country and the country of their characters?
Yep. So my debut had a Australian heroine and an American hero. I kept the voice of the heroine in Australian, so all Australian spelling, and I just made my editor aware of that the heroine was Australian, the hero was American. I had beta readers from the US to make sure I was doing it correctly. From then, I think all of my characters are American, I think. So, yeah, just research. Make sure you tell the people that you're working with that they're aware of it, because otherwise your editor, for me, because I write with an Australian tongue, so by spelling, I'm adding U's everywhere. So I just had to make sure she was aware that I was still wanted Savannah, that was the heroine, to speak Australian. So yeah, just research, make them aware, find beta readers in that particular country. And yeah, that's pretty much what I did. So, and it'd be like, I have an idea for a British character in the future. So I will find beta readers that are British, to make sure that I'm doing it correctly and using the correct terminology. And as an Australian, I've had authors reach out to me asking me to read their books to make sure that they're using the correct terminology and the correct, words that we slang and things like that. So yeah, that's pretty much what I do.
Yes. That was a good answer. Okay, my alarm just went off, so we're gonna try to get the rest of these questions answered. There weren't too many of them, so I think we can get everything that's in at this point.
Okay.
Let me go look at the bottom real quick. Okay, Angela is the last question that we're gonna answer.
Okay.
Down at the bottom.
Yeah.
Accidentally skipped one. Linnell says, "What do you do when you don't have enough money to hire an editor?" This is a hard one because like you really need an editor unless you can write really clean. I have friends who did not use an editor to publish and they used Grammarly and it was okay for some things and they got a bunch of reviews that said the edits weren't that great. Sometimes you can find people who are trying to break into editing and they just haven't found anyone to hire them yet because they're new. And so they're like, hey, I want to edit a book. I want to get into editing, but I need clients. And they'll like super discount their edits because they're new and they're trying to build their client list. There are some editors who will offer pro bono editing to people who maybe can't afford it or whatever the case is. And so they'll edit for people for free, like scholarships and stuff like that. And then, if you know an English student who's in college, ask your family members. Are any of y'all editors? Any of y'all have any experience editing in English, who know the English language and grammar and things like that? You could always, I hate recommending this, but you could always use Grammarly and then hire a really good proofreader if you are skilled enough to write a book that's somewhat clean from the beginning. I found a lot of new authors don't have the skill to do that because they really need developmental editor to help make sure that their plot structure is correct. Or save, you know. I think I charged my edits on a credit card, which is not the best advice either, because I couldn't afford it.
Yep.
And then once it's out there, once you've published, I would just save whatever money that you make from your book to maybe get it re-edited, or save that for the next book, for your next book's edits.
Yep.
Okay, let me scroll back down. Not sure if anyone's asked this, but what are your recommendations for getting book covers? How do you find a good book cover designer? I feel like in romance world, like they're a dime a dozen. Like you can there's like 40 cover designers I could list right now, and they're all very good. Alexandra Torres Inker's group is really great. I would say if you're a new author, covers are expensive. I think I'm paying $400 to have my cover made right now, which is, I'm like, gone are the days of $200 covers. Pre-mades are amazing. Getting some pre-made groups, you will find stuff that is just so beautiful that you're like, this would be the best design for my entire series. And if you can find a pre-made that you just love that would fit with the genre norms of what's selling on Amazon and Apple right now, you can have your designer make those for each book in your series. But yeah, also you can go on Amazon and you can find covers that are ranked in the top 100 that you like, download their book, and they'll usually put their cover designer in the front.
Yeah.
What was your first speaking engagement involving one of your novels? Any tips or things to avoid either before, during, or after the event? Like book signings.
Mine was, my first book signing was, so I released in the July. I went to a book signing in Australia in the March of the following year, just before my third book came out. And I have such fond memories because it was the first book signing in Australia. I feel like the authors that were there, like Pepper Winters was there. It was both of our first book signings. And it was just so fun. It was so fun. And no one had any expectations because no one had been to an overseas book signing before. Pretty much every author that was there had never been to a book signing before. Readers here had never been to a book signing before. So we had the best time. My first international book signing was with you in
Oklahoma? Tulsa?
No. My first one, you were there. Arkansas.
Oh yeah.
So
that was your first one?
Was it my first international? Yeah, that was my first international.
Wow.
Yeah. My first, so which would have been 2015, maybe?
It was 2015, yeah.
2015.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure that was my first international. Yeah, I'm pretty sure that was my first, and that was like the start. I had like 8 weeks of like
book signings,
and then but like every country's different. Like I've done Australia, US, UK, they're all different, but just gotta be yourself. Like really.
Mm-hmm. And people will ask you, what is this book about?
Oh,
just practice. I mean, if it's like a book signing, random people who have no idea who you are probably gonna walk up to you and be like, oh, this is a great book. Tell me about it.
And that is when I'm like, what are words?
So
Like,
there's this girl and there's this guy, and
it's like really bad because like I remember I was at a signing and I like had to look at my assistant that was there and I was like, you have to make sure I don't spoil this book because I'm like, what's this about? Oh my gosh, blah, 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 blah. It's like next minute you've just told them the ending, Rachel. And it's like, okay, well, like, maybe I'm not the right person to try and sell this book. But yeah, they're fun. They're fun.
yes. If you're going to be in a bookstore doing an event, I've never done that before, so I really don't have any sort of thing to tell you. I've always declined that because I felt like it would be awkward for me to be like the center of attention like that. Like, yes, I'm an extrovert, but like, hi guys, here's my book. I'm going to sit at a table in front of the room and like, we're going to talk about this book. Thank you all for being here, all 50 of my friends. This is awkward. Okay, let me turn to this page and read the first sentence. Oh, we can't read that. It's not PG-13.
Sure.
But yeah, signings are fun. I would say, like, if you get invited to one, to definitely go and sign up. There's sign up forms all the time.
Mm-hmm.
Release day of my first novel, I ate sushi.
I cried. I did. I'll never forget it. I just burst out in tears because it's like, oh my gosh, I've actually done it. And then I bought myself pizza. And then I'm like, what now? Like, what do I do now? Yeah, it was great. It was great. And I'll probably do that when I release my next book.
Also, I used to be obsessed with reading reviews, and I learned real quick to never do that.
No.
It's not something I do. Like, it burned me so bad to the point where like I wanted to quit writing right from the beginning. And so since like 2014, I don't read reviews. I have people tell me if they're good or if people have complaints about something, but I don't read them. The book's
Mhm.
published. What do you want me to do? Rewrite it?
Exactly.
I'm writing as a pseudonym to avoid a person in his family. This means I'm starting without a platform. The best strategy seems to rapid release, be consistent. Am I missing anything? Branding. Make sure that your branding is on point. Have all your social medias set up, even if you're not really going to use them, and get a newsletter. Your newsletter is going to be like the best way to contact people. And I gotta say, like, I know a lot of authors who are like, reader groups suck. Like, don't get a reader group. I've heard people say that, and I'm like, really? I made one post in my reader group, and I had like 35 pre-orders. So like, don't underestimate the stuff that everyone's like, that's stupid. Don't do that. Like, test
Mhm.
everything, because what works for me may not work for you, and what works
Exactly.
for you may not work for me. That's why you have to test it on your books and your brand.
100%.
Writing long books. The first draft, that's Rachel.
Mhm. Hey.
A 400 pager.
Yeah, look at all
I'm
of us
ready for it.
Played Club. I'm here for it.
Okay. Let's see. I have to ask the horrible question. What is a reasonable pay range to pay for a book to be self-published these days? I've heard so many price ranges that I don't even know what's okay to pay. Um, I can say for bare minimum, I could probably publish a book for $1,000. That's with edits, a proofread, a cover, and spending a lot of time. So you're going to exchange time for money, essentially, when it comes to publishing. So essentially, like, if you don't have a lot of money, expect to spend a lot of time doing groundwork marketing, because you can't really hire
Mhm.
people to do those things. So you're going to spend a lot of your time to build your platform, to build your readership, to connect with bloggers and whatever. You're going to spend a lot of time. You don't need the money, you just need the time.
Yeah. And there's a lot of things that you can do yourself. There's
Yeah.
certain things that I'm sure we wouldn't suggest you do yourself, but there is a lot of stuff to do that you can do yourself where you can
Yeah.
save.
There's some
Like,
people who are really great at designing their own covers.
exactly.
I saw
Exactly.
Deidre like change this whole cover in like a weekend. She's like, yeah, I watched a video and I changed my cover. And I'm like, girl, you need to open a cover design business. What are you talking about?
Exactly. Exactly.
Um, so I mean, everything you could do yourself, I feel, except for editing.
Yeah.
But yeah, bare minimum, I could probably spend $1,000 and release a book.
Mhm.
Uh, higher end of releasing a book, I could probably spend $5,000 releasing a
Mhm.
book pretty easily, like with the cover, putting tons of money into Facebook ads, Amazon ads, just paying people to do cover reveals and blasts and bloggers and hiring influencers. Like I could spend I could spend an unlimited amount of money releasing. It,
Oh, yeah.
you know, but you don't have to do that. Like it's not necessary.
No.
People who are like, "Oh, I spent $1,500 on edits." I'm like, I would never spend that.
Mhm. Um, did you see the comment above from Jennifer? It's like we're smooshed together.
It's like, can you get your face over here?
She must be fabulous.
It's a Rachel Courtney baby. I like it.
I love it.
Okay. There is one more question. I have Pro Writing Aid too. Pro Writing Aid is great, and I think they did a lifetime thing for like at some point it was like $200 to have lifetime access. I don't think it's quite as expensive as Grammarly. For a new writer, would you recommend writing the story in different point of view, such as first or third person limited, or to let beta readers and editors tell you their opinion?
I can't do third person. I'm first person. I can't write third person.
What are you most comfortable writing in? That's what you should write in.
Exactly. Exactly.
If I wrote a book in first person and then a beta reader told me that I needed to change this book to third person, I'd be like, you're off my team.
100%. You
You're
know
gone.
the characters and the story better than anyone.
You are out of here. Like you don't get to tell me which point of view.
Like, yeah, you don't. And yeah, and you know your characters, you know your story. If it needs to be first person, write it first person. If it needs to be past, present, whatever, do it.
Mm-hmm. I mean, I
Um,
used to write. I started writing in third person. Actually, I have a whole book written in third person. My first novel was written in third person. Third
yeah,
person, past tense.
yeah.
Okay, like 60,000 words.
Wow.
But
Yeah,
when I started writing romance, I was like, you know what? I'm gonna write in first person past tense.
yeah,
So I
yeah,
wrote every book in first person past tense. And then when I started writing under Kennedy Fox, it was like, oh, we're gonna write in first person present tense.
yeah,
And so now I'm like, oh my God, I can write in any tense, but I'm like, nope, all of my back books are now going to first person present because that's what I've written most words
yeah,
in.
yeah,
So you just have to do what you're comfortable with.
yeah. And like changing it, for someone to tell you that you should be writing it in another, like first to third,
It's
I don't
already
know how much
written.
hard work that is. Like, if someone was to say that to you, they have no idea how hard and how time consuming it would be to change an entire book from first to third or vice versa. Like,
I will
that,
tell you, I'm changing my backlist from first person past to first person present, and it is so much work.
mm,
It's so tedious to the point where I'm like, do I even want to re-release these? I'm going to. I have to at this point, but it is so much work.
yeah.
Yeah. Yes, we don't gatekeep here. We'll tell you all the things.
Oh yeah, 100%.
Deidre, there she is, y'all. That cover designer.
Mhm.
Yes, awesome. We are crazy.
Like, she's gonna be people's favorite, 100%.
Oh, awesome. That's good news, Shannon. Yeah, I bought it when it was like, it was pretty cheap. It might have been Black Friday.
I got mine last Black Friday.
Oh, did you?
Mhm.
I need to
I think
reinstall it.
I think you told me to get it. Okay,
Probably.
good.
I'm like, everybody get this.
No, but it is. I do enjoy it. I do enjoy it.
Where to find beta readers? I've found all of mine. Okay, so in the beginning, I would ask people on Facebook, anybody want to beta read? They would be unreliable. I would say that most of them were unreliable. The book was great.
Yeah. You don't want people that are just going to say my thing is, if someone sends me back a document that has very little comments, I'm like, I know I don't write perfectly clean, perfectly like, I want Red, I want Rachel. What are you doing? This doesn't make sense. Like, yeah, if I'm not getting that, if I'm not getting at least, I don't even know, 100 minimum, like, notes, like,
Well, especially because your books are so long. I
exactly,
mean, that's like 1% of comments.
like, like, I don't know,
Like 0.1%.
exactly, like, yeah.
Um,
Any time that like, in the past when I've, critiqued or, for someone, I go into it saying, "I'm going to be brutal. We are not like, we're friends, but, like, I'm gonna be brutally honest
yeah, rip
because."
it to shreds, please. I need
Yeah,
that.
yeah, because, like, I'm just when I go into it, and this is what I expect from others when they do it for me, is that I do not want to not give my honest opinion and then for someone to release it and then get it shredded
Mm-hmm.
by bloggers or readers, because at the critique stage, at the beta reading stage, that's when the changes can be made.
Exactly.
Because if you can discuss it, you can push back on the person critiquing and saying, what do you mean? Like, blah, blah, blah. Because once you release it, if it's getting bombarded with negative reviews and getting, or people are just not connecting with it, it's released, like, it's done. So 100, like, I say that every time someone would ask me to read, I'm like, I'm happy to do it, but
Mm-hmm.
you have to be prepared for me pushing back and saying, why is this here? This doesn't make sense. Like, what's happening here? Like, this character isn't likable, because it's better to come from me than,
A
you know,
thousand people who read it.
exactly. And it's so important to find the right people, the people that will take friendship out of it when they're doing it, if you know what I mean. Like, not to be scared of, like, oh, I'm going to upset her. It's like, upset me. I want to know. Like, I want to know if it's crap. Tell me it's crap, because I need to work on it. So
When I used to beta read for people, I would tell them, like, I like you, but I'm probably going to make you cry. And
oh, yeah,
I'm
and you've read
it's
for me in the past, and
it's just how it's gonna be. I'm
and
not holding back.
I think that's what worked really good for us, because we were both exactly the same. We're
Mm-hmm.
like, you know what? Love you to death, would do anything for you, but I am going to go through this. Like, I am the most critical book reviewer in the world, because it's just like, yeah, it has to. It's easier to change it at that stage, in draft stage, than, for you to start getting 1 stars because of someone didn't connect with the hero,
Mm-hmm.
when I could have told you, it's like, oh, I'm not feeling him. And it could be like, one little change to make the world of difference. But,
Yep. And to find where to find them. So I've used paid beta readers as well, but there are different groups, like professional author groups, where they do like they'll pair you with someone. I feel like, was it Romance Writers of America, Science Fiction Writers of something? I don't know. There's different like organizations where they will hook you up with a beta reader. There's different groups on Facebook where there's like for beta reading. If you go on Goodreads, there's Goodreads groups where you can be hooked up with other authors, and typically you're exchanging books. So like you'll beta read their book and they'll beta read your book, and then you'll switch back. So then you're both getting something out of it.
Mhm.
You just need to find someone that you trust. Maybe, before you send them the whole book, be like, hey, can you beta read like my first chapter? See if you like their comments and what they're saying. And if they're not saying anything, then you know that probably it's not going to be worth your time to beta for them.
If you get back, it's really good.
That's not a beta read.
Like, okay, great. I don't want it to be good. I want it to be great. But yeah, you got to. It's hard.
Yes, good. Insensitivity reader, and I rip things to shreds and provide at least a 10 to 15. Oh my gosh, Angela.
Hey, Angela,
Can we hire you?
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
me too. Me too. I'm like, I'm not gonna lie to you, girl. And if your little ego can't handle it, I can't beta this for you. I had a friend that I baited for, and even to this day, she's like, I literally almost quit writing because of you. And I'm like, I'm sorry, the plot didn't make sense. Like, she's like, I can't change it. And I'm like, hey, at least you know. So if people say anything, at least you know. Do you, girl? Most people are not like me. So
Exactly.
I don't cry when I read. If your book makes me cry, like the general public is going to be a sobbing mess. You're picking them off the floor.
I love it.
Yes.
Exactly. Yeah.
There you go. Terilyn, are you doing paid beta reads? It's like, hey, can I hire you?
It's great. Like, okay.
Yeah, I mean, look at the people in this chat. Everybody's like, hey, I'm brutal. Well, two brutal people get together and switch. A couple of them were not very expensive and very good. Oh, that's awesome. Wow. $35. Yeah, I've been preaching paid beta readers for a little while, just because like it gives them an incentive to actually do it. You like when you exchange with people or whatever, like you take that risk of them not actually doing the beta. I used to send to like 8 different beta readers, and I'd maybe get like 3 back when I asked.
Yeah.
I'm just like, I'm paying somebody from now on.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, we love tears here. We love tears.
I love it.
Yes.
Look at all those brutal people. I love it.
Like, everyone's brutal. We need to make a brutal beta reading club on Facebook.
I love it. It is brutal in the best possible way. I love it.
Exactly. Like, don't be mean. Not like I'm never mean. I'm like, hey, this doesn't work for me because of this. I think maybe if you tweaked it a little bit, it would be a lot stronger and it would be more impactful. Like, I'm never like, this sucks. Like, that's not helpful. Like, it's always creative criticism.
Yeah. And if I say something doesn't work, I'll suggest something that they can consider that will tweak it to maybe get it on the right track. Like, I never write a comment that just is like, nope, this sucks really bad. It's like, how about, or like, this is kind of confusing. How about this? Or, tighten up this sentence. Is this paragraph really needed? It slows down the progress. It's never
Or
like.
the thing for me is like rushing. Like if we're in like a pretty like intense scene and we're just like rushing through it, I'm like, hey, can you please slow this down and just like marinate it in a little bit, because it'll make this end of this chapter like resonate so much more.
Yeah.
But I don't beta read for anybody anymore because I don't ever have time to do it. And I'm too brutal and it takes me forever. Ask Rachel. I'm like, I'm sorry, I need 3 weeks to beta this, but you'll have 10,000 comments when you get it back.
You basically have to add on about 6 weeks to your schedule.
A
because
brutal beta reading club. Dude, we
love it.
need this. I would wear this shirt.
True. I would represent hard.
Brutal fatals. I might start a group. I'm not even kidding. Yes, exactly.
Yeah, exactly. You've got to, like, I think, yeah, if you're just in there, and I'd be the same if I got my document back and I was just like, nope, this sucked. I'm like, sure, tell me it sucks, but tell me how I can fix it.
Exactly.
Don't leave me hanging. Like, what part of it sucked? Was it the character? Was it the wording? Whatever. Just like, tell me how I can fix it. That's the whole point of getting a critique or getting a beta,
Mhm.
like, is to tell me how to make it work. So,
What
like,
we need to do is we need to create a brutal beta reading club where it's like, hey, I'll pay somebody some money to be brutal. Who in here has a week where they can just rip this apart and me just pay you? Because that would be
exactly.
great.
Like, and I think one more thing about the whole like beta reading thing, like, I and I don't know, I'm not speaking for you, but like, I don't need my critique person or my beta reader to be the grammar police. Like, I just need you to tell me if the story works or what doesn't work. I
Yeah.
think sometimes people, if they're not experienced in it,
Yeah.
think it's just grammar and spelling. And it's
Yeah.
like, and that's what I tell people. Like, if I'm like, don't worry about that, don't get, held up on that. That's what my editor will do. And I like to, if it's someone I've never used before, I'll be like, and as I'm writing, if there's things that I'm worried about, like in the past, I've sent questions to people saying, do you feel connected?
Yeah.
Does this make sense? Or is her backstory enough? And you can do that as well. So, like, but yeah, I don't need you to tell me when I need a full stop.
Yeah.
AKA, what do you
Zadie says, like, I know there are grammatical errors. The edit will get that. What do you feel about the plot, the pacing, the conflict, etc.?
Exactly. That's exactly that. Because, like, I don't
Yeah.
need to know that I've missed a comma or that I've spelt, favorite the Australian way instead of the American way. Like, I know. Like, I know my word's set to Australian. I know, even though I set it to American and it jumps back. But, like, I don't need to know when I've missed a full stop or I've missed an exclamation point, because that'll get picked up.
Yeah. Yeah, I know a lot of like, so a lot of experienced authors, like, they don't even do the beta thing anymore, because what they write is what they write. They know that it's going to be good, and if it doesn't hit the way that it should, then whatever, they're already moving on to the next book. I can tell you that we had a beta read one time in one of our books, and the person came back and said, can her boyfriend just die already? And I'm like, okay, we totally missed the mark on that book, because it needs to be an emotional thing. So we had to rewrite like 20,000 words a week and a half before release.
Yeah.
So, you're never too experienced to be humbled.
Yeah.
I guess is what I'm saying.
And I think, and once you have released a lot of books, and sometimes you can get too familiar with your own way of storytelling, if you know what I mean. So,
Yeah.
You might not pick up things like that because you're just so familiar with your way of expressing something. And it's like, well, maybe, and it could take new readers picking up and saying, oh, this sounds the same, or this is, and it's like, oh, okay, well, I didn't realize that. So I think it's definitely important to do, because they might not pick up a lot. They might pick up a glaring hole that you have no idea or you've missed. So,
and sometimes your editors will not tell you.
Oh yeah,
they'll be like, here's your book back, and I'm like, you literally read that plot hole and you didn't say anything about it. Like,
yeah,
what?
exactly.
What?
Exactly.
Are you even reading this book?
So, okay, maybe it's time for us to look elsewhere.
Exactly. It is a learning process. Okay, guys. If I don't go, I'm probably gonna get divorced. So
Yeah. Will just come in and disconnect.
I told him, I said, I'm gonna be very strict on my time. I promise at 6:30 I am ending it. But anyway, I gave y'all an extra 30 minutes. We'll have to do this again. I hope you found it helpful. I hope that, I tried to answer every single person's question. If for some reason I didn't get to your question, it's because it didn't show me in StreamYard. I literally clicked on everyone's question that I saw. But anyway, I appreciate you guys. I appreciate y'all hanging out here with me and Rachel, the lovely Rachel Brookes, my writing partner, sprint partner in crime. And yeah, we will plan some sprints for May. You'll probably see me sometime this week because I really need to finish this book. And what is my shirt doing? I don't know. Anyway, y'all will see me again really soon, and you'll see Rachel again really soon. And we appreciate y'all hanging out with us. So, do you have any last words, Rachel?
Just enjoy it. Just enjoy it.
Enjoy it. Enjoy the process. This is the journey, guys.
Exactly.
This is your legacy.
And you know what? There are so many waves, You just gotta be adaptable. But yeah, yes. I love it. I love seeing all these names, and I can't wait for all of you to tell us when you finished your books.
Yes. Yep.
I'm excited.
And that's it. I don't have an outro, so we're just going to press end right here. And bye, guys. We'll see you real soon.